I'm 82 years old, and I've been sitting alone in this house most mornings, trying to understand how a 41-year marriage ended without a single explosion. No screaming, no affair. Just a quiet break-in that took decades. I'm not telling this to feel better about myself. I'm telling it because time is short now, and the truth feels heavier when you carry it alone. Most days are slow at my age. I wake up early even though I don't need to. I make coffee for one. I still reach for 2 mugs sometimes before I catch myself. That habit has outlived the marriage. Funny how that works. The silence in the mornings is the loudest thing I know. When you're old, you think a lot about what's finished. Not just people, but versions of yourself. I think about who I was when I thought I had plenty of time. When I thought showing up later was the same as showing up now. I was married at 28. Back then everything felt urgent. Building a life, paying bills, getting ahead. We weren't unhappy. That's the part that makes this harder to explain. We were functional, responsible. We did what adults were supposed to do. He worked long hours. I did too, in my own way. We divided things without ever really talking about them. He handled the money. I handled the home. We handled problems quickly and feelings slowly. That felt sensible at the time. In our 30s, life was busy in a way that felt permanent. There was always something due, something broken, something to plan for. We talked about schedules more than anything else. Who was picking up groceries? Who was staying late? Who was tired? We told ourselves this was just a phase, that things would calm down. They didn't. What I didn't understand then was that marriage doesn't break when things are bad. It breaks when things are postponed too long. When important conversations are always scheduled for later, and later never quite arrives. There were small moments I ignored because they seemed harmless. He would start telling me something, and I'd half listen while folding laundry. I'd nod without looking up. He'd stop mid-sentence, and neither of us would mention it. I didn't think that mattered. There were evenings he wanted to sit and talk, and I'd say, "Can we do this tomorrow? I'm exhausted." Tomorrow always seemed reasonable. Tomorrow felt responsible. Tomorrow became a pattern. We stopped asking each other questions that didn't have clear answers. How are you, really? What do you miss? Are you lonely? Those questions felt messy, so we avoided them. Instead, we talked about practical things. We were very good at being practical. In our 40s, the distance grew in ways I didn't have language for. We slept in the same bed, but our lives ran side by side, not together. I assumed that was normal. Long marriages aren't romantic, I told myself. They're steady. I thought steadiness was enough. Looking back, I can see the erosion. Not dramatic, not cruel, just quiet, like water wearing down stone. We stopped touching without a reason. A hand on the shoulder became rare. A hug felt scheduled. When intimacy faded, neither of us asked why. We were polite about it. Politeness can be deadly over time. There were moments I felt something was off. A heaviness when he came home. A flatness in his voice. I noticed it, but I didn't lean into it. I was afraid of opening something I didn't know how to fix, so I stayed busy. Busy is a wonderful excuse. Busy sounds responsible. Busy sounds necessary. Busy lets you avoid looking too closely at the people right in front of you. I told myself I was doing my best, and in a way, I was. But my best was limited by what I was willing to face. In our 50s, The children were grown and gone. That's when I expected us to find each other again. That's what people say happens. More time, more quiet, more space. What I didn't expect was how empty that space felt. Without the noise of responsibility, the distance between us became obvious. We sat across from each other at dinner with nothing urgent to discuss. We chewed, we cleaned up. We watched television, side by side, not together. Sometimes I'd catch him looking at me, like he wanted to say something. I'd ask, "What?" He'd shake his head and say, "Nothing." I let that happen more times than I can count. The truth is, I thought love was supposed to survive neglect. I thought shared history was enough. 40 years together felt unbreakable. I didn't realize that history needs maintenance too. I remember one specific night. Nothing special about it. He said quietly, "I feel invisible sometimes." I laughed a little, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what to do with it. I said, "We're just tired. Everyone feels like that." I wish I could go back to that moment, not to say something clever, just to stop and really listen. The cost of all this didn't arrive at once. It came in the form of emotional habits. We stopped confiding. We stopped reaching. We stopped expecting. By the time I felt lonely, I assumed he did too, and that this was simply what marriage became. I didn't see it as a warning. I saw it as aging. Then came the turning point. It wasn't dramatic. It never is. He got sick. Not suddenly, but gradually. Doctor visits, medications, fatigue. The roles shifted, and I became a caretaker in ways I hadn't anticipated. I was present then. Very present. I handled appointments. I made meals. I did everything that needed doing. But care is not the same as closeness. One afternoon, after a long hospital visit, he said, "I don't think you ever really saw me." His voice wasn't angry, just tired. I wanted to argue. I wanted to list everything I had done, the years, the sacrifices, the loyalty. Instead, I was quiet, because something in me knew he was right. He passed not long after, 41 years after we married. I stood at his funeral and realized how little of him I truly knew at the end, how many thoughts he carried alone, how many words never said. Grief is strange. It's not just missing someone. It's missing the chance to do things differently. There are things that cannot be fixed once someone is gone. Apologies don't land. Promises don't matter. Understanding arrives when it's no longer useful. That's the part that sits with me now. I can't go back and be more present. I can't ask better questions. I can't sit down and listen without distraction. Those moments are finished. What remains is memory, and memory is a poor substitute for repair. If you're listening to this and you're younger, I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't have instructions. I only have what I lived. I wish I had understood that love isn't proven by endurance. It's proven by attention, by choosing to stay curious about the person you think you already know. I wish I had known that postponing conversations doesn't make them easier. It just makes them heavier. I wish I had known that being busy is not the same as being necessary. If this meant something to you, you don't owe me anything. Just maybe sit with it for a moment. Maybe think about who you've been assuming will still be there later. I have limited time now. I feel it in my body, in my mornings. In a way days pass faster than they used to. I live quietly. I remember often. I accept what I can't change. Some lessons arrive too late to use, but not too late to tell. That's all this is, a truth, spoken late, in the hope it doesn't arrive so late for someone else.